Welcome to Nuanced Beauty. This podcast is intended to be a spot where my husband Bill and I will capture some complex thoughts and challenge us to hold to our opinions loosely so that we can see the beauty in others and the beauty in ourselves. I want to challenge us to dive deeper into those everyday topics and those sticky topics that we might shy away from, or we might bulldoze over others with our opinions. Because I think there's wisdom in this idea that if we all thought exactly the same, there would be no need for anyone else. So let's have a conversation and let's get nuanced. Hi guys, welcome to Nuanced Beauty. Today is my first ever interview. Hi Alyssa.
Hi, Christina.
Welcome to Nuanced Beauty. I am so grateful and thankful to have you on the show.
I'm so excited to be here. I'm loving your show.
Well, thank you. I'm glad that you've had a chance to listen, and I feel like Bill and I have done plenty of talking, and I know that we could do plenty of more talking, but I also would really value the insights of other people, and that's kind of the point, right? Like to be
Yeah.
nuanced is to engage with people, and so me and Bill engaging with each other, we just kind of miss, additional dynamics of other people. So thank you, thank you.
No problem. I'm so excited.
Um, so Alyssa and I go back to college. We good old Kings Point.
An undisclosed number of years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were chatting before we hit record, and it's interesting, like we haven't seen each other in a decade, and obviously a quick video call is like we got to see each other someday.
Yeah, definitely.
But what's kind of cool, and I think other people have this too, but I feel like KP people, like we have this thing where like you can just not see each other for a long ass time. And
Yes.
first, because I actually don't have an explicit tag on my podcast.
Oops.
But
Note to self.
yes, like we don't see each other, and then we just like see each other because I'm traveling here or you're traveling there, and you just
Yeah.
pick up where you left off. It's
Yeah.
nice, right?
It's like no time goes by and you just see each other and it's an instant like comfort level.
Yes.
My husband was a little bit, we went to another college friend's wedding, Jesse Elizabeth Schiffalo,
Oh,
and
nice.
we saw a bunch of people from college and he was a little bit shocked at like he was like, who are these people?
The
He's like, you've never
friendliness.
mentioned some of them. And I was like, yeah, I know, it's fine, they're my friends, it's
They're
cool. He's like,
great.
are we going to see them again? And I was like, I have no idea. Eventually,
Maybe
probably.
one day, maybe not.
Exactly. It's
But
like,
for
oh,
today, we are like
okay,
BFFs, okay?
absolutely, that's how this works. And if
Yeah,
anyone needs you, it's you drop it and you're like, no problem, I'm there. That's how we do.
it is. It's nice. Like that is the thing about our alumni network. And I'm
Yeah.
sure other like colleges and other,
Yeah.
like towns, neighborhoods, like people
I'm
have that
sure.
too. But
Yeah.
I wanted to bring Alyssa on today because she recently did a stand-up comedy bit and put it out there on Instagram. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. Like, I'm so proud of you for, doing
Oh,
this.
thanks.
And I was like, well, first off, I did laugh a little, so that's good.
Yes, that's great news. That's exactly what we're shooting for.
Yes. So that is the thought, like my angle that I would like open us up with is that
Mm.
I am not inherently funny. And I it's kind of interesting. Like, okay, so we have our two kiddos and Zeke is our
Mhm.
6-year-old.
Mhm.
And Bill got him this like animal joke book that's full of punny jokes.
Amazing.
And Zeke reads the joke and then he says, the punchline, and then he explains the joke. And
Which
of course,
comedy rule one, always explain the joke. Just go hard.
well, Bill is over here like, if you explain it, it's not funny. And Zeke is over here like all factually like, yeah, but see, this is the point. This is what makes it funny is because it has dual meaning, And so I'm over here like, oh, you are so my son. So I struggle. I struggle with comedy. Not that like I enjoy, like I laugh at things
This is good.
like Babylon B is really funny to
Oh
me.
my gosh,
And
it's so funny.
yeah, and I've listened to some like Bill is like Bill is the comedian of us, and Bill is like way more cultured than I. And but I it's an area that I'm not as good. So in the
Yeah.
spirit of nuance, and having the connection that we had, I wanted to bring you on and just talk to you about that stand-up show and
Yeah.
ask you like to kick it off, why is laughing and comedy important to like humanity and people like me who don't laugh?
So just like, some small questions. No, I've been thinking about this a lot lately. So I had a really amazing opportunity to go through this like year-long development program through my work. And one of the things that you kind of come out of it with is sort of a purpose statement for your life, for your person. Um,
Okay.
yeah, which is in and of itself a super cool thing. But so I spent a lot of time thinking about like, what do I want my life to be about? And there's a lot of things,
Mhm.
right? Like narrowing it down to one thing feels a little mean, but one of the biggest things for me was something about the word joy and bringing joy and animating joy, because I truly believe that, like, what's the first law of thermodynamics? Energy is neither created nor
Or
destroyed, it just
lost. Yeah.
changes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I think joy is like that. It's an energy, it's something around us, and it's something we have inside of us if we just give it the space to breathe.
Hmm.
Um, and to me, laughing is and one of the easiest, quickest, most efficient ways to sort of let that energy go and be in the moment and be okay. Um,
I like
there's
that.
a
Yeah.
yeah, it's there's a looking back as an adult, it feels a little heavy handed, but one of my favorite things in the like J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter books is the Boggart, and it's like the evil creature that takes the form of the thing you most fear. And
Yes.
the way you like defeat it is to laugh at it. And I was like, oh my gosh, what a like as an adult looking back, I'm like, what a perfect metaphor. What a perfect metaphor for how to deal with something that scares you. Like,
Transform it. Uh-huh.
yeah, if you take it and you find the things that, and then it's not as scary. I mean, it's still like, let's be real, like the things that we're afraid of as adults are still a little scary, even if
Yeah,
you can
it's still
laugh.
hard.
Like, it's definitely still scary, but I just think it has a lot of power, um, and it's really fun. It makes your days a little easier. So
Hmm. I like that. So like have you always wanted to try and do comedy like in
no,
regards to this stand-up show?
no,
No.
I
Okay.
no. So I this is another like I often thought of myself. So I've pretty recently kind of came to a realization that I was thinking of myself in a way that is actually not very true to me.
Okay.
Let me try and rephrase that. Okay. So
I think I'm
I came
tracking.
to yeah, right. So we're gonna take the roundabout way just for funsies. So I think I came to a realization recently that I was thinking of myself as someone who's like kind of like shy and quiet, because I like to read, and so in my head, like those things all went together.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, so boom, boom, boom. If I like to read, then I'm obviously like the
And I
bookworm,
must be
right?
an
From all of our teen
introverted
movies. Exactly.
Belle from Beauty
Exactly.
and the Beast.
Okay, literally 100%.
Okay, yeah.
And turns I told my therapist about like, yeah, I think of myself this way, and I'm realizing I'm not really very shy necessarily. And I'm not really very quiet. And she literally laughed out loud and said, no, that is not how I experience you, which is, I think, the most therapist-y way to be like, yeah, no, you're pretty loud. And I was like, all right, cool. Thank you.
That's cool. That's
It cracked
interesting
me
though.
up.
It is like what you're saying kind of like resonates with. Ooh, early on I recorded an episode on personalities
Mm,
And
yeah.
I talked about the pros and the cons of like personality tests. Like in
Oh
one
my gosh.
sense, it gives you this belonging, like
Yeah.
it puts into words what you kind of like when you reflect on
Yeah.
yourself, you like it gives you a sense of belonging. But then at like the negative sides of things, it puts you in a box or it causes you to like create this correlation and like as if you can only fall into that category.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. There's this, a long time ago, a friend of mine, shared with me a quote that has become my absolute favorite quote. And it's all models are wrong, but some are useful. It's attributed to this statistician. I think his name is George Box. But to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, because that's exactly it. Like, there's such
Mhm.
helpful models to try and like figure out pieces of yourself. And I like what you said about like a sense of belonging. Like, oh, I'm not weird or wrong or bad. Like, other
Uh-huh.
people are that way too. But then
But don't
it
just stop there or
exactly,
like only see that part.
yeah,
Yeah.
it then loses its usefulness when you start to just like, oh no, just this piece of it is the important part, or just this piece of it is, what we're doing.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so I kind of put myself into that box. And then once I started to kind of see other pieces of that, and I realized like I'm happiest and most myself when I am sitting in a group of people and I have made that group of people laugh. Um, that was a really weird realization.
Uh-huh.
And I cannot tell you how I got there, but
That's like funny because I feel like going back to college, you would say like so a little bit of lay some tracks for people.
oh yeah.
Alyssa and I went to college together, but we were also in the same section. So for
Mm,
3 years at the academy, we went to like almost every single
all of
class
our classes.
together.
Yeah.
And it was us and like 22 people. So there was just the 22 of us in our
Mm.
section, 121, shout out for anyone who
Woo.
knows what that means. And like yeah, we did every class together. And there's not that many gals, so there's like 5 gals in our section of the
Yeah.
22 of us. And I feel like I would categorize you and Anna as the funny ones. So you had humor. You've always had
Yeah.
humor, even if I don't always get it.
You always got my jokes, Christina.
I
Don't
think
lie.
I did. I think
You
I did.
did.
But I do like, man, I tell you, like sometimes though, they go right over my head, but I know it's supposed to be funny. And then I go and I think about it and I figure it out.
As long as you get
Um,
there eventually, that's what counts. But
yeah, but so I
yeah,
guess it's funny because
yeah,
I would say that I would have always like been like, yeah, no, Alyssa is like funny. Like that
yeah,
would be one of like the higher words. Like if I were to like list off characteristic traits, like I
yeah.
would put funny toward the top for you.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you. Second, I think I've always wanted to be funny. Like I've always wanted to make people laugh, but I didn't really, I just thought it was like just something you do, right? Like it wasn't something I ever did intentionally.
Hmm.
It was just like a gut instinct and a gut reaction. Um, and then once I kind of, when people are like, oh, what are you good at? And you're like, I don't know, stuff, I guess. And you're
Uh-huh.
just like, I don't know if that happens to you, but
Give
that
me your
happens to me.
elevator pitch.
Yeah, right. Like,
You're like,
what is your
ooh.
thing that you're good at? And you're like, I don't know, stuff. Uh, and then I started like, okay, no, but there are things that I'm really good at that not necessarily everyone is. And once I kind of gave myself permission to actually look at those things,
Hmm.
one of the things that I picked for myself was like, oh, I am funny. Like
Okay, yeah.
I'm often a pretty funny person. I'm enthusiastic. I have like this. And I kind of started like, and I was like, oh, those are superpowers. Those are really good things.
Hmm. I like that. So then,
Yeah.
like, what led to the stand-up comedy? Was this like a dare from your accounts or your
Wouldn't that be fun?
therapist, or
There are so
like
many people who
a
do that though.
personal goal, or
Yeah, it was a personal goal. I it actually came from some feedback at work that was like, you're joking too much. And I was like, that's fair. And I was like, maybe if I channel it into something intentional, like
then I won't
I'm
joke as much at work.
intentionally, yeah. was like, maybe if I channel it and I actually like do this right, then I won't be, leak out so much. So
Mhm.
I toyed around with it for like a year and a half. And finally, my husband actually found this comedy theater near us that does classes. And
Okay.
he's the brave one. He signed up first to do an improv class.
Wait,
And
so is he funny too?
he's way funnier than I am.
Oh my
I
gosh.
think he's funnier than I am. He's hilarious. He's a very, very funny man.
I don't know what it would be like to be in a house with two funny people.
My mom says it's a lot. And
Okay.
like every time she comes over, she's like, the two of you just have your own little language. And I'm like, that's why we got married. That's We were like, you're my kind of weirdo. Let's stick together.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
So
Love it, love it. Okay.
yeah, but he was the one who started it. And I like I felt like he was the penguin that got pushed off the iceberg first. And he was like, it's safe. There's no seals here. And then I was like, okay, what if I do this stand-up class? Like, I don't know, back and forth.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, it's kind of a lot of money. Like, what should we do? And he was like, honey, I need you to do this class. It's like, you don't do anything for you. I need you to do this class. So I was like, okay. Okay. So I signed up and it's like a 7-week class once a week for a couple hours.
Wow, this is
And at
like a
the,
big workshop then. Yeah.
yeah. And then like at the end of it, everybody does a 5-minute set.
So does it feel like slightly theatrical? Like you every week, like people have to like get in front of the group and like,
Yes.
oh my gosh.
That's basically exactly what it is. So like the first week you just is like, hey, here's what it is. But then we start going into like some of the like basics of comedy, literally like what is a punchline? What makes people laugh? And so it's,
There's a definition for a punchline.
yes, it is. It's like, so there's every joke is setup, punchline, and sometimes a tag. So the setup is the information someone needs to
Okay.
get the punchline. And then the punchline is the piece of it that actually like gets
Should
the
make
laugh.
you laugh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's usually like a contradiction of something you said previously that's unexpected.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Uh-huh. Like a twist of that's the
exactly.
kind of
It's the
punny
twist. It happens
twist.
fast and it throws people off. And yeah, exactly. So
Okay.
so you start with some of the fundamentals. Zeke would love it. He could come in.
You'd be there like, oh, like calling out. So
Yeah.
here's where give you like my mind when you said punchline. Like this is
Yeah.
where I say I'm literally literal. I pictured a punch bowl at like a
With
party.
like a line.
Yeah, like at a party, and then I'm like, maybe there'd be like a line, and I know like you're talking comedy, so I do know that the punchline, like it's like the part of the joke, like that's what I would just say is that's the joke, is the
Exactly.
punchline. Um, but I'm like,
True.
how would you define a punchline? So when I asked
Yeah.
myself, how would you define a punchline? I pictured a bowl of punch.
A line for punch. I mean, fair. That's fair.
Oh yeah, yeah, I
You're
know.
not incorrect, just so we're clear.
Yes,
It
I'm
is
just
also
not.
that.
I'm missing the target just a little. So it was 7 weeks of a workshop and
Yeah.
was like the end point. It was the like you all did
Yeah.
the stand-up comedy and was it open to like whoever wanted to come to it or
Yeah. Yeah. So they just open it up and like people bought tickets. And like, we all invited our friends and family. So it was the most supportive crowd ever, which
Mhm.
was absolutely awesome. And we sold out. So my parents were like, oh yeah, we'll get tickets. And then they like waited too long. So I had to like scour some tickets from
Oh,
friends so my parents could come, which was super
aw,
cute.
that's awesome.
It was
Yeah.
really sweet. So it was really fun. Absolutely amazing. And yeah, it was awesome.
And how did it feel? Like the actual if you could like take yourself back and just like were
Yeah.
you super anxious or did you feel like, okay, I was prepared for this? Like I've been working
Yeah.
toward this. And so I actually felt like a sense of confidence going into it, or was there a good level of like, oh,
A little bit of both.
okay.
So I mean, like I was the second to last person to do my set on the night. And so like listening to my friends, because by the end of like that time, like we've all put in a lot of work together. And so we'd gotten close and we'd like spend some time together. And we all still talk, which is kind of cool, and like send each other open mics and stuff like that. But
Mm-hmm.
so I was like trying to distract myself and listen to my friends. I was a little nervous. We're all in the back room, like running through our jokes, like, okay, all right. And then, yep. And then, okay. And I do this thing. And so that was really fun. But once I was on the stage and I had the mic, I felt like physically my body like calmed down. Like,
Oh, good. Yeah, you're like, all right, now or never. Like,
yeah,
there's no turning back.
it was just like, let's do this. And like, I got the first laugh and I was like, this is my place. Like, this is what, not necessarily like what I'm meant to do in the world as like my one and
Like a
only
job
thing, but yeah,
or a
exactly. Like,
making money occupation. Yeah.
exactly. But I was like, oh, this feels like me. I had found a piece of myself that I didn't know was out there, kind of,
Uh-huh.
which was really cool. It was an awesome feeling.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
That is really cool.
it was awesome. So
Now there
yeah,
you said the folks that you did the class with, you guys are sending each other open mics. So does that mean you might go do it again?
yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I'm actually performing again on June 2nd, so less than a week. I'm
Okay.
doing an 8-minute set, which I'm mildly terrified about just because I feel
Is
like
that
I haven't
longer?
written
That's
enough
longer than what you
material.
did, right?
Yeah, I did a 5-minute set in the video.
Okay.
Um, so I'm a little worried I don't have enough material. So
Is there, so that's interesting actually, like, cause you said you did a 5 and now you're doing an
mhm,
8. So I
mhm.
imagine timing, like I can just in my mind, like, and being more like music, like musically
Yeah,
instrumental
yeah,
inclined, like timing is everything.
yep.
So I'm kind of picturing that's like, that must be a huge part of comedy too.
Oh, it absolutely is. And once you start like performing at clubs and like you go places, if you go over your time, a lot of places like you will not be invited back because they have it planned out very specifically. So you
Oh, okay.
practice within an inch of its life, like you are spot on. And you have to leave space for people to laugh as you're practicing.
Uh-huh.
So, like when you tell the joke, you have to leave time for people to laugh before you move on.
Uh-huh.
Otherwise, they can't hear what you're saying. And so it gets really weird when you're practicing
Oh,
and you're
okay.
telling a
So you
joke.
can't, you have to connect with your audience then.
Oh, yeah, you have
That's like
to.
the uncontrollable part.
Yeah.
Oh.
That was a little scary. I had one punchline like fairly early in my set that I thought was hilarious, but the audience did not. So
Can you tell me which one? I listened to it, but
I'm
I'm
trying to
curious.
remember. Oh, it was okay. So, and you might have laughed at this because you're part of this world, but I said something about I almost ran a $500 million ship aground and
Yes.
nobody laughed at that.
And I did. Okay. Yeah.
I was like, are y'all serious? Like, that is a huge amount of money. How is that not hilarious?
Like I
No?
said the
Okay.
dollar value, I meant it. Like I'm not kidding. Maybe the word,
Yeah.
I think the words run aground, like the word aground is
I
so
think,
maritime
I think
specific.
it is.
Like you should be able to piece it together pretty quickly, but I bet that phrase ran aground is just
That's
like,
that's what I think is like nobody quite got that. And it's
uh
one of those like, oh, that's a niche phrase that I did not realize was a niche phrase.
like
Like, okay.
so yeah, like I thought regular people, people have watched Captain Phillips, right? Like
That's what right. You've watched Captain Phillips. Everybody's that's really our only pop culture reference for the
I
maritime
know.
industry. That's like all we got. I love trying to
Interesting.
explain it to people like, where'd you go to college? And I'm like, okay, did you see the movie Captain Phillips? That's kind of my college
We're
experience.
like, we could go like, did you see The Guardian? Except not.
Exactly. Except like not even a little bit like that.
Except
Fine.
not at all. Like we are not the Coast Guard, but imagine like the people who they interact with. Like that was
Those people. Okay. I feel like we need a whiteboard every time we try to explain our college experience to people. Like, okay, so this, not that, but close.
uh-huh.
And yeah.
Oh my
So
gosh.
it was really weird. Like I threw that out there and nobody laughed. And so I just had to keep going.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, oh, it was a little weird. And then thank God they laughed at the next part where,
Uh-huh.
yeah, thank God. But
That is, yeah. Oh my gosh. I didn't consider that. But yeah, there's a component like it's like an art that you're connecting with the people, and that
yeah,
is not controllable. So that would make me anxious. But then there's a timing involved.
yeah,
But then also you have this overall time constraint. So
yeah,
these are a lot of like balls in the air that you got to like keep flying.
yeah. And just like keep remembering all the stuff you wrote because you can't have your notes. And so you're like,
Yeah.
okay, well, I've
Okay.
practiced this, fingers crossed. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It's really cool. It's fun. It's a little fly by the seat of your pants. And I'm shocked that I don't have more anxiety about it than I do. So
That's good. That's
yeah.
cool. I mean, I feel like and that to me that is like when I am at peace about something,
Hmm.
that that has been the thing for like honestly the past decade for me.
Yeah.
Like that is a sign of like I'm going toward something and not running away from something
Yeah.
is how I would describe it. When I have that overall
Yes.
like this actually is not making me anxious, even though like when I think about it outside of this and I
Hmm.
like run the circumstances through my mind, I should be super anxious about this.
Yes.
But I'm not. Like I feel totally competent and like confident in this thing and
Exactly.
at peace about it. So that makes sense. And
Yeah.
that
It's like that's how you know you're going in the right direction.
mhm.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's cool. So you're gonna do a show, an 8 minute, this
Yeah.
coming weekend or 2 weeks.
Yes.
Okay,
June 2nd. So this coming Friday. Ooh.
nice.
Yeah.
And is that can you share where it's at if anybody
Yes.
happened
Oh
to
my
listen
God. I
to
would love
this?
to. Oh,
Oh,
holy
wait.
mackerel. Yes. It's at Stomping Ground Comedy Theater in Dallas, Texas. It's which shout out to Stomping Ground Comedy. They are an absolutely incredible organization. They do a lot of really great work for classes and teaching people about comedy. But they also do a lot of work with one of the things I most admire that they do is they do a lot of work with for mental health and comedy.
Okay.
And then they do a lot of work with caregivers. So I have a lot of emotion around Alzheimer's, and they do work with Alzheimer's caregivers and teaching them a lot of improv techniques
Oh, okay.
because, like, the classic improv is yes and, right? So you go with whatever your scene partner has said reality is. So if your scene partner says you're hanging off a cliff, you immediately jump into, yep, we're hanging off a cliff. And so teaching those
Oh,
techniques to Alzheimer's caregivers as they're caring for people who are in their own essentially reality
yeah.
makes it a lot easier for the caregivers to kind of react and respond in a way that is less stressful for the patients.
Yeah, almost
Um,
acknowledging
yeah,
and not like saying like, no, you're totally wrong, and then freaking a person.
yeah, exactly. Like, and
Okay.
kind of like bringing them back. And anyway, I could go into it, but I am not
That's
one of the
cool.
instructors who do that. But anyway, it's a really cool organization here in Dallas. So if anyone listening is a Dallas person, come see shows at Stomping Ground Comedy in the Design District. It's amazing.
Okay, I was
So,
thinking about because this show will probably air on Thursday.
oh, well,
So,
cool.
yes, it will air before your
Yeah.
performance, and I'll
Well,
put a
yeah.
little blurb out there as
I was gonna
well.
say it's so it'll air before that performance, and then even if it didn't, I have another one on July 1st. This is my whole summer,
Oh,
really, is just
wonderful.
comedy
Okay,
stuff. So I'm I'm just staring really
lining it
hard
up.
into my new thing.
I like it. That is awesome.
Yeah, you know how it is. You find something and you're like, this is it. This is important. I'm gonna keep going. So
That's
yeah,
cool.
yeah,
Well, with that, I for just respecting people's time, I
of
try and keep
course.
our shows like around a half hour, and I have no idea how long we recorded because I'm gonna have to like end the call and take a look see. But
Oh yeah.
um, thank you so much, Alyssa, for chatting with me about
Christina,
comedy.
this was awesome.
And maybe in the future, if people enjoy this episode, I'll have you on again, and maybe you can
Oh,
like tell a joke or something.
don't tease me. You know
Tempt
I
you
love
with a
telling
good
jokes.
time.
All I want is good. All I want to do.
But yeah, well, thank you so much. And yeah, if anybody is in the area, you got to go check out Stomping Grounds.
Yeah,
Correct.
that was fun.
Um,
Nice.
and yeah, um,
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me on, Christina. Not only was it amazing to catch up with you, but it's really fun to talk about things I'm passionate about. As it turns out, that's really fun.
all right, guys, thanks for tuning in to today's interview. I'm sure you love hearing Bill and I chat about various topics, but truly, in the heart of nuance, it is wonderful to bring on a guest and have a conversation. So I hope you enjoyed, and until next time.